Welcome back, True Seeker. Want to connect the dots between last night's shooting just outside of Los Angeles in Torrance at the Gable House bowling alley to the November 7th borderline bar shooting, and from there to the Route 99 Harvest Festival shooting of October 1st, 2017. And in case you're new here, please do pay attention. As far as I know, I'm the only person in the world who called the false flag in Las Vegas October 1st, 2017 before it happened. And I've called a lot of shootings on dates before they happened. And I was very specific about what would happen with what ended up happening in Las Vegas. I said we would witness the biggest false flag in the United States since September 11th, 2001. And I let people know about that several times over the course of 2017, long before it came around. And I knew it would happen because of this code that we're about to discuss further. For 5 years, I've been educating people on how history repeats itself by a numerical code, because our government uses this code to stage propaganda. This is a language within the English language. It's a numerical language. It is ritualistic. It's important to Freemasonry. Freemasonry has a lot of influence in government, media, and police. And in all these shootings, it's the police leading the way with the details. If you're not familiar with Freemasonry's logo, the capital G with the compass and square, instruments of geometry, it's on many a police badges. It's on many a government buildings. Gematria, the practice of coding numbers into words, means geometry in language, and it is important to Masonry, the ones with the capital G for a logo. So look at this. From the borderline bar and grill shooting November 7th to the Gable House Bowl shooting of January 4th is 58 days later. And our most important cipher in Gematria, if you could just have one cipher, this is the one you'd take, the alphabetic order with the rules of numerology. And I've explained this for 5 years. Manly P. Hall, the Freemason, wrote in his book, The Secret Teachings of All Ages. If you take this code of letters and numbers and apply it to things, you'll probably make a lot of discoveries in this world. I took that advice once upon a time, and I've made a lot of important discoveries. So anyway, Freemasonry's 58. Modern Freemasonry is born out of the Rosicrucian order. Rosicrucian's 58. Secret Society's 58. And that's what Freemasonry is, a secret society. And there's a whole lot more 58s that you could add to that list that are relevant to Freemasonry, such as Solomon's Temple, Tracing Board. If you don't know Freemasonry, you're not going to understand why those terms are important, but they're important to Freemasonry. And there's a whole lot more. Anyhow, going back to the November 7th borderline bar shooting, they blamed it on a man named Ian David Long. And notice what his name equals. Ian David Long, 58. And recall, at this borderline bar shooting, they said many of the people who survived that incident had also survived the Las Vegas shooting, the Route 99 Harvest Festival shooting of October 1st, 2017. And what did they say was the number of dead? They said 58 people were killed in that shooting. And we pointed out the day of that it was synced up with the governor, which is also true in so many of these shootings. Brian Sandoval, the date of that shooting, notice his birthday is August 5th. August 5th, a date that can be written 5/8. From his birthday to the October 1st shooting in Vegas was his 58th day of his age. Not coincidental. This is a very important number to the Masonic network. A lot of propaganda, a lot of rituals are orchestrated around this number. Case in point, look at your sitting president, Donald Trump. He is number 45, but he was the winner of the 58th U.S. presidential election. And go back and look. He announced he was running from the 58-story Trump Tower, the same one they show in the media all the time with the gold elevators, where supposedly all these meetings went down that might have been scandalous. Look at what Donald Trump did for Inauguration Day. He fired the old man. The apprentice fired the old man that had been doing it for a number of years and hired the 58-year-old Steve Ray. Not an accident. Hillary Clinton, she put out a book called What Happened, about why she lost the election. Look at what happened in the most pure cipher, 58. You think that's an accident? Why she lost the 58th U.S. presidential election. What happened? This number again and again and again. And if you haven't read my book, in the second chapter, I give you the big long list of 58 and what's the meaning of this number. There's a whole lot more to it, but for now, the thing to understand is rituals are orchestrated around it. It's not an accident that this latest shooting, not far from the last shooting, comes 58 days later, you know, where the shooter in the last one had the 58 name Gematria, and then the shooting was connected to the Vegas shooting from about a year earlier where they said 58 people were killed. And, you know, it's hard to say what really went down there, but I guarantee you this number is contrived. No doubt about it. It's a code. It's a message. It's a language. So look, let's go over this again. I did a short video on this earlier. Let's just go over the details again. More often than not, these reported mass shootings in the media, and understand, shootings happen every single day all over this world. Most of them never make the news. But when they're in the news, when they're a top headline, they are orchestrated. They are contrived propaganda for agenda. And so many of you who don't get it, it's because you don't get what day and age you're living. You don't get, you know, what your government is all about. Government is about control, period. There is no other purpose of a government other than to control people. That is it. Here in America, we get brainwashed as children to worship government and love government and to think our government's just so great. We're just the greatest government. That is all crap. That is all false. The U.S. government is a military, drug dealing, banking, tyrant organization. That is what it is. You know, your government's not here to serve you. You guys get headlines in your paper and you don't even blink an eye. Your politicians are busy at work hiding what chemicals are in your food. You don't blink an eye. You just read it and just turn to the next page. Who won the game last night? What movie's coming out this weekend? Turn back to the last page. Do you not care that your politicians are working in Congress right now so you can not know what's in your food? This is the mind control. You've been so programmed that everything's so great, so hunky-dory, you don't need to pay attention to anything. You know, for me, it was a big wake-up call. I was barely 18 years old, September 11, 2001, 911, national emergency, you know, buildings turning into dust in midair, being blamed on a man in a cave. I knew something was up, and obviously numbers had something to do with it. So I went to town, did some research, took some years, figured out that Freemasonry was running the show. Freemasonry was invested in Kabbalah. Kabbalah says God created the world by merging the letter with the number with the word. That's the belief in Kabbalah from the Book of Formation. Lo and behold, our government's playing God over us, lying to us, doing things by numbers, encoding numbers into words. And again and again in these shootings, there's a key number that comes up every time, and it's 44. More often than not, these mass shootings are on a date with 44 numerology. Case in point, last night, January 4th, 2019, the first date with 44 numerology in the new year. Shooting 44, gunfire 44, Torrance, CA, like how you'd write the town on an envelope, 44. Again and again. The same old thing. There are 4 base ciphers. The alphabetic order with the rules of numerology, that's this cipher. Again, if you just want to use one of the 4 ciphers, this one will be enough. But if you know all 4, you will see other important details. The other 2 ciphers are the reverse alphabetic order and the reverse alphabetic order with the rules of numerology. And in case you don't know what numerology is, it's just taking a number and compressing it to a single digit. The woman who's the head of the IMF, can't think of her name right now, Years ago, she gave a speech on numerology and how important it was to the IMF. Think about that. The bank of all banks. Anyhow, S is the 19th letter. You see that it says S is worth 1. That's because the numerology of 19 breaks down to 1. 19 is 1 plus 9 is 10. 10 is 1 plus 0 is 1. H is 8. O is the 15th letter. The numerology of O, or 15, is 1 plus 5 is 6. You see? T is the 20th letter. 2 plus 0 is 2. So anyway, I'm going to go through and explain all that there is that I see on the surface so far in this shooting. Supposedly there's a manhunt for the shooter right now. They don't know who he is. Amazing, because almost every street corner in this nation at this day and age has a camera on it. Almost every building has cameras. Again and again in these shootings, you'll notice that the police have to do these big manhunts. They have no idea who the shooter is. How's that even possible? It's the age of surveillance and cameras everywhere. But anyway, I'm just going to go through the rest of this. And then I'm going to open up the phone lines and have people call in. Because every time I do one of these videos, people go, I don't get what the point of this is. And I'm just like, well, did you listen at all? Because I explained it like 500 times over in the video. So maybe people can call in. Maybe people need to, I understand it's the age of ADHD and people are used to listening to sound bites and 15-second news stories. But every video I make, same questions. I don't get it. Why would they do this? And I'm just like scratching my head. Dude, I covered that in the video. I covered that. So for anybody out there who has questions, you guys will be able to call in a moment. I'll put out the number. Don't forget the word officer has Gematria 44 too. All these stories come from the police. This shooting was at the Gable house, 41, like how the date January 4th can be written 4/1. You'll always see how the locations and the suspect names, when they come out, they're always synced up with the date. Never fails. Here's the 4 base ciphers that we just talked about. Notice how shooting and gunfire, well, just real quick, the dark green's the alphabetic order. Dark blue's the one we're talking about, alphabetic order with numerology. Neon green's the reverse alphabetic order, meaning Z's 1, back to A is 26. And then the last cipher is that reverse order with numerology. But notice shooting and gunfire overlap in 3 of the 4 ciphers. Notice bowling. This happened at a bowling alley. Bowling 37-107. Shooting 107-37. Michael Moore bowling for Columbine. They said the shooters at Columbine went bowling before they went up shooting the school. They said in this latest shooting last night in Torrance, 3 dead, 4 injured. Interesting numbers. 3 dead, 4 injured, kind of like 34. Murder equals 34. It's a story of mass murder. It was reported that the shooting happened at 11:54 p.m. What's so interesting about that time is in numerology, the hour's 11. 11 is the master number. You don't have to break it down. 54 in numerology is 5 plus 4 is 9. So the hour's 11, the minute's 9. 11-9, what do we know about those numbers? The Masonic network within police, which has millions of members worldwide, is the Fraternal Order of Police. Notice that equals 119. Who do you dial to connect to the police here in the U.S.? 911, 119 in reverse. It's not an accident. When you flip the alphabetic order around, the word fraternal equals 58. 58, where we started. Freemasonry 58, Rosicrucian 58, Secret Society 58. Again, we talked about how the last shooting was 58 days earlier in the Los Angeles area. The November 7th shooting blamed on Ian David Long, 58. Talked about how that shooting was connected to the Las Vegas shooting where they said 58 people were killed and how that happened on the 58th day of Nevada's governor's age, guy who has a 5/8 August 5th birthday. Here's the details from last night's shooting. What we know, Torrance police said, that's what's key right there, it comes from the police, said they responded to reports of shots fired with multiple victims down at 11:54 p.m. local. The police department confirmed that they arrived at the scene to find multiple victims with gunshot wounds inside the bowling alley, including 3 men dead and another 4 injured. None of the victims worked at the venue. 2 of the injured victims were sent to a local hospital. The other 2 sought out medical care on their own. Must have been grazed. Hard to imagine getting shot and wanting to take care of it yourself. Witnesses say the shooting stemmed from a fight that broke out among two groups of people. The Guardian reports. Police have not yet confirmed what started the shooting. The Gable House Bowl is a bowling alley and party space that also hosts laser tag, a full arcade, food, and drinks. It's open until 3 a.m. on the weekends. What we don't know, the identity of the shooters involved. I mean, how's that even possible? How's that possible? There was a big altercation in the lobby. You mean to tell me this place doesn't have any cameras? I haven't been in a building, any public place that doesn't have cameras, probably in my lifetime, especially at this day and age. There's just cameras everywhere. You know, cell phones. I mean, you mean to tell me a bowling alley on the weekend, like people weren't pulling out their phones while the altercation was going on? This just isn't the world we live in. Everyone would have had their smartphone out, taking pictures, video card. Oh man, big fight going down at the bowling alley. The gunman or gunman's motives, the victim's identities. Oh, so they don't have anything. By the way, Torrance is on the 33rd parallel, go figure. Using our most pure cipher, false flags 33, police is 33, masonry's 33, secrecy's 33, federal's 33, orders 33. You know, what really got me clued into 33 was again September 11, 2001, because I started researching on my own. I wasn't buying the lies. And I noticed right away that in 1968, World Trade Center construction started. 911 was made the national emergency dialing code, and the sitting president, George W. Bush, graduated from Yale in Skull and Bones, Masonic order. Why all 33 years before 2001? Well, we know why. They were planning the big old false flag. Their project for a new American century. If you don't know what the project for a new American century is, you better look it up. It was the document, the think tank that became the Bush administration. They wrote the document that said they needed a new Pearl Harbor for a new agenda, war involvement in the Middle East, and a surveillance state here at home. Well, they got it after 9/11. No, you guys are still going, I don't get it. Why would they do this? So they can rule over you. That's why. The full name of this Gable House Bowl with the alphabetic order sums to 147. Very special number to Freemasonry. I predicted that George H.W. Bush would die at age 94 and he wouldn't make it past November of 2018. One of many correct predictions over the years because of this number. Very special number to Freemasonry and the presidency. And George H.W. Bush just died 147 days after his son's birthday, who was also president. There's 147 windows on the White House. U.S. president equals 147. Of course, Washington, D.C. is named after the Freemason George Washington. But just again, the code is important to Masonry. The code was revealed to the world by a Freemason, Manly P. Hall. And if there's some troll down in the comments saying that Manly P. Hall wasn't a Freemason, just understand that person's a troll. Anyone can verify that Manly P. Hall was a Freemason. Fact of life. Said it himself in his own books. That troll's always around, so I just put that comment out there. He's always writing that. Manly P. Hall wasn't a Freemason. Yeah, he was. Thanks for that book sale out there. Anyway, Gable House Bull 147, Freemason 147, Conspiracy 147. In Jewish Gematria, which is a very relevant cipher outside of the base ciphers, police is 147. That is not an accident. There is a major association with police and Freemasonry. Understand, this code originally comes from Hebrew. There's 14 key ciphers in Hebrew. There's just as many in English. I mostly stick to 4. And out of those 4, I predominantly use the dark blue cipher, which we've talked the most about in this video. For the record, for just another thing pointing to Masonry, modern Freemasonry began in the year 1717 in London. Not by accident did modern Freemasonry begin in the year 1717. Yesterday's date, there's multiple paths to get a date numerology. Yesterday's date also had a 17 numerology. The word Mason is 17. And as we talked about earlier, yesterday had a 44 numerology as well. 1 plus 4 plus 20 plus 19. Notice kill is 44 and 17. You know, It's a story of death and killing and shooting. And again, these stories happen every single day in the world. You usually don't hear about them in the news. The only time you hear about it in the news is when it's orchestrated by the Masonic network, the Fraternal Order of Police, as state-sponsored propaganda. And why do they do this? Again, to control you, to plant seeds in your brain that you need Big Brother, you need government to keep you safe, you need police officers, you need to have your rights taken away. You don't need to own guns yourself. Only police officers should have guns. Have you listened to Anderson Cooper the last 5 years? How many times has he made that statement? You know, maybe it's time for just police to have guns. Oh, that would be great. Then we'd be so safe if just the government had the weapons. How's that worked out in the past? Hello, fascism. You know, we already have it here in the U.S. It could be a whole lot worse. You listen to the voice of somebody who had the police burglarize their house for exposing a local high school shooting just before our vote in November of 2014, where gun legislation was a big thing on the ballot. Weeks before the vote, we get a big high school shooting. Not far from where I live, I start investigating, going to the location, asking questions. Next thing I know, I come home, my house is cleaned out. Oh, I wonder how that happened. No. So anyway, if anybody wants to call in here, if anybody's got any questions, the number is 509-731-0567. Again, the number to call in if you have questions, if you're confused, it's 509-731-0567. While we wait for somebody to phone in, if there's anybody out there, there's always people that got questions and trolling remarks in the comments, but usually not to call in. While we do that, we can go back and look over all that was coded into the borderline bar shooting. It was 1 year, 1 month, and 6 days after the. Here, we got a caller. Caller, mute your video in the background.
I did.
Okay, how are you?
It's muted. Good. How are you, Zach? Denise in Sacramento.
Good to hear your voice. You disappeared on me for like a month.
I've been really busy. I'm moving and there's some things I'd love to dive into, but I just haven't had time. I can't help thinking that this bowling alley thing is connected to the Bowl Championship Series on Monday.
That makes sense too, right? It's bowl season, yeah?
Yeah, and the Bowl Championship Series, and it's a rematch. Roll Tide is sort of like a torrent, which sounds like torrents. So there's that. And then the other thing I just wanted to mention is in all of the stories about the so-called Transformer fire over Queens, New York, to me, that's some sort of weird transgender thing, I mean, Queen, Transformer, and not a single person has made that connection at all. And I don't know if it's censorship and nobody can talk about that, but to me, that just seems super obvious. And even the color, that blue color, is on the transgender flag.
That is a good point. I hadn't thought of that until you said it, so that is interesting. Somebody also pointed out that the Transformer blew up and the sky turned blue, and I was like, yeah, that's a good point too.
Yeah. Did you notice in the videos how that effect in the sky was flashing from kind of a pinkish color to blue? Was that real, or was that just weird video effects? Because it looked like it was flashing pinkish or mauve and then blue.
Well, I see where you're going with that. If it's true, it's hard to say because stuff can get doctored on the web, and you know, just the way light comes in through a camera, it's hard to say. But I do see the point you're making there. I mean, when babies are born, it's often either the pink or the blue. So
yeah. And did you see the really weird one in Ohio that was like that gold yellow with a big white light in the middle that almost looked like a hole? That was. I mean, there were 3 bizarre sky phenomena there that happened within a week. It was pretty bizarre.
I missed the Ohio one. What day was that?
I don't remember the exact day, but it was within a day or two of when the thing in New York happened.
I'll go back and find it. I didn't know about that.
And then again, I haven't had time to look. I'd love to dive into the Queen's trans thing, but the way everybody's 911 went down, is there a 911 connection to the trans issue? I don't know.
I'd have to look. I'm not sure either.
Because, like, isn't there some rule of Kabbalah that says not the 9, not the 11, but the 10? Something like that. Aren't there 10 spaces on the tree of life? Not 9, not 11.
There's 10, and the 11th is forbidden.
Interesting. So anyway, just some thoughts, some things I haven't heard out there. I'm sorry I don't have a cool Gematria breakdown to go along with that, but I just wanted to throw it out there because I haven't heard anybody mention it.
Well, I do appreciate it, and I'll look into it more. Yeah, it is a good thought. It's interesting.
One more question. Isaac Green, the guy, you kind of called him out in your last video, saying that he took down your interview because it was kooky, but saying the whole United States being white is somehow worthy of being on his site still. Is that him? Is that his name, Isaac Green?
It's Adam.
Adam Green. Okay. You know, he does some good stuff. And it's weird, you know, I think he's one of the few really bringing up the issue of Israel and what's going on and how people who, you know, the Goyim need to unite. And he talked about boycotting, which is a somewhat risky thing to do these days. And I didn't know that he dissed you like that and is so extreme on the other hand. That was really interesting that you pointed that out. But at the same time, I don't know. I wouldn't throw out everything he says because I think there's some truth there, like so much of everything, you know? I mean, calling out people and getting aggroed toward others is, I guess, necessary, but at the same time, I'd hate to see people get totally turned off to Adam Green's work because there's something of value there.
Well, it's just like I said after he did that. I said, because people were saying, I'm unsubscribing from him. I said, no, don't unsubscribe from his channel because at least he's calling out Zionism. Not enough people are doing that. But
exactly.
But, yeah. You know, he refers to himself as a Goyim, and I think he should refer to himself as that because, I mean, he's doing a good thing, but he's so in the dark. I mean, he just woke up to the fact that Alex Jones is a shill. He voted for Donald Trump, and I'm telling you, only the biggest sheep in the world did that. And then just how he responded to my work and said, "Oh, there's no way they could bring sports, and that's so kooky." And just like, dude, okay, never mind. I forgot you're the guy who just woke up to Alex Jones. So
yeah, I hear what you're saying.
So,
and he's a lot younger too.
He's not a lot younger. He's like a year younger than me.
Against youth, but
he's like 1 year younger than me.
Oh, he is?
Yeah.
Oh man. Okay, my bad.
Yeah, he's not so much younger.
I just feel like sometimes people who haven't been around as long as some of us just don't know things and they can't put things in perspective as well. So we just need to keep, like, I like how you keep talking about things from the past, you know, and keep talking about history, keep talking about how things that may have happened before some people were born affects and still plays into the stories of today. We got to get more of that going on, especially as Google is censoring that kind of historical information, you know, that can allow us to make those kind of connections. So keep it up, man.
Will do.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you. Sounds like you're doing better.
Happy New Year to all you numbers and letters geeks out there, y'all. Have a good one. Make it a good 19.
All right. Take care. Appreciate it.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Well, she didn't exactly have a question about this, but it's always nice to hear from her. For people who do have questions, please do call in, and I'll answer your questions. But let's just go back through this. We're talking about the connections between the shooting yesterday at the bowling alley the shooting at the Borderline bar, which was connected through the media to the Route 91 Harvest Festival shooting. They said a lot of people survived both shootings. And for anybody out there who never saw the video footage released of the Borderline bar and grill shooting, you got to look up that video footage. Hold on, let's go out to this caller here. Hello?
Hey, sorry to bother you. I've just got a question for you.
Please.
Been noticing, and I do videos, and I haven't done them for very long, but I've never really thought about numbers until I started making videos. And then whenever you're editing videos, you deal with numbers a lot. So you're looking more and more at numbers. And then as you're editing, if you're paying attention to people as they talk, you're noticing in real time that numbers are matching up as they're speaking and as you're speaking. Like right now, a certain number as I'm speaking about this. It's really weird how it's working, but it seems like in real time, these numbers are falling in order. So I'm seeing it more like I watch my kid play a video game, and the video game's live with friends, just like the world now, just quantum or different level, and quantized, I guess. So then you've got them playing this bracket game. They can make a choice. A choice rotates a number. That number means they go to this bracket and move on, and you can keep stats on all of that. Everything is about numbers, 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 numbers. So we're just a simulation, you think?
Well, a lot of people have that theory. The way I see it is, okay, so every single day in this world, there's shootings. There's shootings in this world every single day. Multiple shootings every single day. And so, I mean, there's shootings that are happening outside of this pattern of 44 is the point I'm making. The thing is, when the media comes with one of their stories that they want us all to know about, the latest shooting, it's almost always on a date with 44 numerology. Almost always. And that is part of a purposefully orchestrated pattern. So it's like they're trying to program a matrix of information. And that's what I'm showing people.
Matrix of information already exists, and they've made a choice, just like my son chose to be nice at this point in the game. So he ended up going over here, and it saves the girl, and say it lands on 42. And then he chooses to, because he gets angry at a portion in the game, so he does something wrong, so he comes over here and say that turns into a 44 caliber that he buys at a store later in life, because he ends up being, he got off early, say at 404, and then he just ended up being in that matrix. It's not pre-built per se, but it is. This would be like a kick-ass video game, like the best video game ever made. And that's why I still lean towards the Jesus teaching, just because he basically was like, love everybody, and it's hard to go wrong with love everybody. It seems like it's going to get you on the right portion of that matrix, per se, maybe on the right numbers. I don't know. Either way, listening to you, it's putting some numbers together for me that I've been trying to kick around, and I appreciate it. It's nice to meet you.
All right, appreciate your call.
Sorry to bother you, but do you think it's a matrix video game per se
that we're living in?
Yeah.
To some extent, but the point I want people to take away is our government is manipulating us and steering us down a path that is a detriment to us all. And September 11th was a shining example of that. And we as a people need to wake up to this agenda and bring it to an end. And the only way it's going to come to an end is if enough people are aware of what's going on and what's being done. And then in numbers, we all say, okay, enough's enough. Time to protest, and we're going to protest by not paying our taxes anymore. If enough people, if tens of millions of people could come together and say, I'm not paying my taxes anymore, that would make a major dent in their agenda. And stuff like that needs to happen. They need to be, so anyway.
Do you think it's a waste of energy? Because say you do that, I mean, you can look back and you're a history buff. It's happened. The only difference between now and then is we seemingly are waking up to the fact that we're living on a number timeline. I mean, you're waking up a bunch of people to the fact that they're living in and around a numerical matrix. It's been trying to get it through cartoons, everything. I mean, you can pay attention and follow as as bright minds wake up to the fact that we're living in a structured, orderly society. I mean, they've been trying to tell you through, even old school scientists have been trying to say it's order to chaos, back to order. They're trying to tell you slyly that there's something big to us, but I think they were leaning towards Luciferianism. Now, do you think that this leads that way? Do you think that this leads down that path?
Yeah. I'm going to switch over because we got other callers. Thanks, friend. Hey, what's going on?
Hi, this is Brev from California. How are you doing?
Doing well. Thanks for calling.
Hi, I like email you all the time. You're the bomb, and I think your work is phenomenal. Like, I've been up all night reading your book, and my phone shut off and wouldn't even turn back on. So, I mean, it's just like, I know you're an anointed man of God. The truth is all up in there. And nothing you say is a lie. And I will like square it with anybody who comes up against you at this point, because it's just oblivious to me that everybody is just like stupid to us. It's almost common sense. And I'm kind of confused to what's going on right now, because I have like people, I'm known for being a whistleblower. So I've been in danger by the government. I've been shot at. All of my kids are in the system because I was raped and reported it, and then come to find out, the rapist was a Lancaster serial rapist. It was my rape, my DNA, who caught him for all the rape. So they wanted to make a deal with me. I didn't choose the deal. So they came for me. And I'm here today talking to you because God kept me, just like he's going to keep you. But I'm kind of confused to how, is there another shooting right now? Because that's what someone tells me. Like, people that's in the government be calling me to throw stuff out there on the ground because they're too afraid within their job to say anything. So I'm blind to how people still have kind of questions. Even to your book, it's self-explanatory. Just the first 3 pages, like wow, it's nuts. And if people think it isn't, I will like spin them off something. My sister, I don't know how, she had stage 4 cancer out of nowhere, and I think it was a blood sacrifice. She was born December 19th, and then died 20 years later on the 20th, on April 19th. And then my brother was born November 29th and died September 29th. My dad was just sacrificed or something 2 years ago, and he was screaming, "Abra, help me, help me! They're trying to kill me! They're trying to kill me!" And I had to come up against my whole family. And he left me like millions of dollars I haven't even touched yet because people are after me for it. And I'm still like, wait a minute. They even got a phony restraining order to keep me from the funeral. I went to the viewing anyway because they didn't want me saving his life. And he basically wanted me to record and videotape everything, which I did. And people think people don't get killed by numbers and stuff like that. They do. You know, my dad's a revolutionary, and he changed the Local County winning and he marks for the county. That makes so. I mean, I knew someone was going to come up against them. I'm just surprised. Like, I'm almost blown away how people are bashing you. Like, how are we still stupid right now? Like, how? I mean, why are we all not helping you? Us just being a here and not helping you is not enough to me. It's like I'm kind of speechless. How, like, I'm kind of speechless. I don't even know what to say right now. Like, I mean, you can't do this by yourself. It's not fair. It's not fair. Like, I don't give a damn. Like, it's just really people. You don't know like what you're doing until someone comes for you. And then you're looking and you have no one to run to because everyone's afraid. I mean, fear is only in the mind, I believe. I don't fear anything. And it's almost great to see someone else out there like you fighting on the ground for people. But it's so, your stuff is so detailed and so self-explanatory. I'm like, just, why are we asking questions? It's so obvious.
Well,
Like,
I agree with everything you're saying. Your signal's starting to cut out, but I heard the point that you made very clearly. Yeah, this work is self-explanatory. It's easy to see the agenda. People should be able to grasp it. And it's been a big shock to me that it hasn't spread further in the last 5 years. And when I first got into this, I thought there'd be other people in the truth community who would pick up this work and add it to theirs and start helping people wake up to what's going on. Because I still haven't seen anything else in the time I've been doing this that exposes the agenda more clearly for what it is. And yeah, I wish there were more people helping out. I'm not all alone, though. I mean, there are other people who've picked up the torch and they have their own blogs and YouTube channels, and they're not getting the exposure they deserve.
You got to go beyond blogs. I mean, you're doing the damn thing. To me, I mean, I know what it's like. I mean, I have 3 degrees in law and 1 in computer forensics. And right now, I'm like a force to be reckoned with. They know, don't hack my phone, police, because I'm coming for your whole computer system, and I did it before. And then they come to the house, or you're violating. No, I'm not. According to the U.S. Constitutional Code, United States Code 28, subdivision 1983, the deprivation of rights under the Code of Law. Don't fuck with me. That's where I go with it. No, you want to fight? Let's fight. But I'm not gonna no, they cannot do this to you. And then I was so pissed last night when I seen how they're stealing your money. Do you need a lawyer? I can get you a good one, like for free. Like, which way you want to roll with this? Because it's a tyranny, and you got a right beyond the Constitution for freedom of speech. So for YouTube to play this game, I was so pissed off for you. I was like, I couldn't even sleep. Like, I get really offended when I see someone trying to do what's right, and it's just so much evil. That's the only thing that's still like, okay, God, like, what's up? Because, everything you're saying is like dead on the nail, and I know it's the truth. Like, I believe in God. I was raised a Christian. I'm not a Christian. I'm not non-denominational. But I know because it's for actually even be a lie with the text read that came up against me for exposing the truth and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? It's just unbelievable. So weird. Like, everybody don't care. People are bots. Like, it's so crazy. Like, how are you sacrificing your life and your thing for a couple of dollars, like 40 acres and a mule or some type of thing? It's beyond. They tell you about that. They can see everything. It's like God's eye. That's what they call these cameras these days. God's eye. So 4 years ago, you can even look it up in the news. It was on the news. And I was a virgin, ended up getting pregnant from that rape. I went to the rape center, everything. They did everything to try to stop it. Ended up getting pregnant from the rape, had the baby, and he was so bold. Tried to get custody of her, and then the judge gave him rights to see her. He raped her. Then I had a restraining order to protect me and my daughter. Then when my parents sued the county, they came for my family, messing with the grandkids my parents had in custody. And then at that time I was married or whatever. So because I came and was there for my parents, there was video recording when the police battered their house. Get this, they took my kids on my sister's birthday, which is December 19th. So everything is done by numbers. It's done by a code. Every single thing lines up. Everybody that it matches up with their birthday. It's like crazy. It's unbelievable. So, I mean, I was tased by the police, pregnant, and lost the baby, and a police body slammed me. And, I mean, it was crazy. So right now, I mean, it's no reason why anyone should be disputing what's the obvious. I mean, especially when it's on camera and people are shooting, getting shot on the news, and no one does anything about it. But this is what I want to say about the cameras. So I was calling the police or whatever because at this point, I guess my family got bought out because they knew I had information on the government, which I do. And I did put it out there on the gram. about them doing sex trafficking and everything. I never once committed a crime, never once hit my children or anything, and all of my children are in the system because I fight against the system. And they told me, if you don't go along with the system, if you fight that, then you're not going to get your kids back. That's too damn bad. They made me take, 4 mental assessments, and I passed them all, everything. So then they got crazy because they wanted my attorney to sell out against me, but they didn't know that I am very educated. I can do anything in the realm of the law, especially in the federal law. So the appeals court guy called me, yep, missing in the system. So I said, what do I look like giving you, let you pay me off, and you guys got my 3 daughters in the system, give me my kids back, and then we'll talk. They didn't want to do that because they know my 3rd daughter is missing in the system. And I told him to fuck off. So next day I got laid off of work. It was crazy down, and then my parents was acting funny.
I think her call dropped. She had a lot to say, but yeah, her signal was cutting in and out there. Yeah, it sounds like that woman's been through a lot. But yeah, just the overall gist of her message. Yeah. All right, we got another caller. All right, what's up, caller?
Hey, all right. Question for you. So, do you think the world is structured around these numbers, or do you think the people in charge are just leading the way with them? For example, during World War II, Hitler was a big occultist, so he did a lot of things by the numbers. So, if you were to look into the numerology behind what he was doing, it would make sense because he's an occultist. Or do you think the universe is structured around it? What's your take on it?
Well, I think a lot of the people at the top, well beyond Hitler, are occultists, and they're operating by this code. And what I've discovered, though, just from doing this research, is it does seem that a lot of the world is structured this way organically, and that's what the last chapter of my book talks about. But no doubt what they're doing in the media is manipulating this code and, again, using it for their agenda. So
when you start looking at a news story or you start breaking things down, do you go for like life path numbers, destiny numbers? Do you look for birth dates? Like, where do you go first when you start doing your research? Like, where should we go first when we start looking into it?
I always start with the numerology of the date, because whatever the story is going to be connected to the date. It's always that. For anyone out there who has these kind of questions, you guys really should pick up my book. All of this stuff's explained in the first pages. It's very systematic what I do. So,
yeah, actually, I like your book. I do have your book. Out of all the numerology types, people in charge, you think they're running more Kabbalah or Western, or what's the one that we should look to first, or just the simple cipher?
Yeah, just start with that simple cipher, like I said at the beginning of this video. Alphabetic order, rules of numerology, just like Manly P. Hall said to do.
All right, sounds good. All right, thanks for your time. I enjoyed the book. I'd recommend other people get it. It's got a lot of interesting pages in there. So, thank you.
All right, take care. Welcome. So, I mean, just like stuff like this, when they first put out the shooter's name for the borderline bar shooting, his name was first reported as David Long, and then they changed it to Ian David Long. I covered this the day of. His name at first was David Ian Long, and then by the end of the day, it was Ian David Long. And it wasn't hard to see why they swapped the name around for Ian Long, because it summed to 117. He shot up the bar that was having college night, 117. This happened in L.A. When you write out L.A., it's 13. When you write out 13, it's 117. The shooting was on November 7th, 11/7. And 13 factored into the Route 91 Harvest Festival. 91 is the 13th triangular number, meaning if you had 1 through 13, it equals 91. So this is just the evidence that the media is manipulating information with this code, this knowledge, and they do this again and again and again and again. Um, I just don't know how else to explain it. It's just so obvious. And you can just see how the numbers fit together in so many different ways. Like the Central Intelligence Agency, what are they really here for? You know, they're here to steer the mind's eye of the public. Notice CIA 13. Look at what Central Intelligence Agency equals 117. This relationship with 13 and 117. The United States of America has a gematria of 117. 13 colonies, 13 stripes. So, anyway, if there's anybody else out there that is confused about this, like the last caller, I don't even understand his call. I mean, he's read my book and he had the questions he has. That doesn't make any sense to me. But you know, the code's very simple. It's the alphabetic order. You can just see how all things are scripted. Like, for example, the Vegas shooting October 1st, it was at a country music festival. Country music festival. The Borderline bar shooting, where supposedly there's people who survived that shooting and then they survived this second shooting. It happens 1 year, 1 month, and 6 days later. Country's 116. Borderline bar and grill's 116. They said the shooter suffered from post-traumatic stress disorder. So, and again, you can only start to pick up on these types of connections if you know the 4-base ciphers. So those details aren't as crucial, but still, that's why you want to understand the 4-base ciphers so you can pick up on why they're reporting, what they're reporting, why the shootings that are connected are spaced out in the number of days that they are. And the Vegas shooting was, it was the exact same type of thing. This happened in Ventura. Ventura's 101, and it was connected to the October 1st shooting, right? The 10-1 shooting where 101 was coded all over it. In Las Vegas, the Route 91 Harvest Festival. Let me see. There was a lot of information for this. And again, if you saw my work on the Vegas shooting, the Jason Aldean, what are his initials? J-A, J's the 10th letter, A's the first, 10-1, 101. He had a music video. Oh, I'd have to go back and look. But even that music video that he'd released where he was driving through Vegas was synced up with the date of the shooting. Let me see. Let's see. And here, I thought they was in this post. It must be in a different post. Let me do this real quick. You can just see how important numbers are in all of these rituals and how they're manipulated. I'm trying to think of what the name of the shooter was for Vegas. He had the 13 tattooed on his neck. Let me see if I can pull it up this way. Let's see here. This was the supposed shooter, and in the media images, if you look carefully, they showed that there was this 13 on his neck. But then in other images they put out, that 13 wasn't there. And hold on. Stephen Paddock, that was his name. In light of 13 being relevant to the LA shooting that was connected to this Vegas shooting, notice when you write out 13, it also has a gematria value of 99. This shooting happened right after Yom Kippur, which is the Jewish Day of Atonement for your sins. And then you get this shooting in Sin City at the Mandalay Bay Casino. Mandalay Bay's 99, Sin City's 99. Again, all connecting to 13, and he's got the 13 on his neck. So Like the guy who was calling a few calls ago and kept trying to go to organic, but isn't it just like all organic? No, it's not all organic. I mean, it's just obvious that they're encoding propaganda. There's nothing organic about photoshopping a 13 onto the shooter's neck with this bizarre picture of him with his eyes closed. It's like you got to be blind and not see what's going on, especially when you got a guy online calling out the date of the shooting months before it happens, as in yours truly. Let's see. Here, I just remember off the top of my head anyway. If you type in casino, it's 101. You type in Mandalay Bay Casino, it's 101. Remember the shooting's on October 1st, 10/1. Type in assassin, it's 101. And the man performing was Jason Aldean. J's the 10th letter, A's the first. Jason Aldean, 10-1, gets shot up on 10-1. I mean, there was a million other riddles. I covered that shooting really well in the book that's already released. But I don't know. All right. Well, if nobody else wants to call in and has any questions, we can just wrap it up here. I hope I explained clearly enough why they do this. Again, Freemasonry is all about rituals. You know, Freemasonry, they're in Kabbalah. That's why they operate this way. It doesn't matter if it seems silly to you or it doesn't matter. This is how they do it. This is how they operate. And speaking of which, people always say, who are they? They, alphabetic order, 58. You know, just like where we begin. That film, They Live, that alludes to Gematria, Freemasonry. Manly P. Hall, in his book, he shares two ciphers, the alphabetic order and the alphabetic order with the rules of numerology. A, 58, Freemasonry, 58. Secret Society, 58. So, again, if you've never seen They Live, I'll show you something. The motto of that movie is They Live, We Sleep. 74. Notice, Gematria. So the whole movie is referencing. He puts on sunglasses and all of a sudden he sees things behind English that he never saw before. Gematria, the practice of coding numbers in the word 74. English 74. Masonic 74. Jewish 74. Occult 74. What's this nation's birthday? Holiday 74. Independence Day 74. You know, these people stamp their numbers on everything. And my thought is that they understand there is this organic matrix of numbers, and seemingly if they push their numbers and do things ritualistically, they must believe or know that it has some influence over the populace. And again, the reason this would be so, you have to study the old world spiritual beliefs, such as Hermeticism. Hermeticism has 7 principles. One of them is the principle of vibration, that everything carries a vibration, including every shape, symbol, color, letter, number. And all of these vibrations have an influence on our behavior. So these people must have mastered what numbers carry what vibrations to keep people in fear and a sense of, you know, needing old Big Brother to look out for them. And speaking of which, that phrase "Big Brother," I think it's with the reverse ciphers. Big Brother's got that 58 too. But again, you'd only see it if you knew the reverse. So we'll leave it there for now, Truth Seeker. Anytime I open up the phone lines, I never really get the phone calls that I'm expecting. There, you know, you always see these comments, I don't get it at all. It doesn't make any sense to me. It's like, I'm just waiting for that person to call in. It's always somebody who's asking questions and then supposedly they've read my book where it's already answered, or like the woman who called in, I appreciate her call, you know, people that want to talk for 20 minutes straight. It's like, I know you guys got a lot to say and probably know where to get it out, but anyway. We'll leave it there for now. If you haven't picked up the book, it's linked in the description of every video. Till next time.